I marvel at the great leader, Martin Luther King, who urged his followers as the civil rights leader not to give in-kind treatment to those who so wickedly punished them. He said, I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. That's the habit I want to ask you if you will carry with me to give love. Not give love in kind, but give God kind of love. Let's start that today.
Hey, welcome to Life Family Online. We post content each week. We'd love for you to subscribe to our account and click that little bell. It'll notify you each time we post something new. Let's jump into God's Word with Pastor Randy.
Give love. It is the essence of who God is and what He calls us to do. God is the giver of love. Scripture just says, let me tell you about God's nature. God is love. You see God? He's always loving. He gives us the ability to love, and that love is always within the context of relationships. Mature love has to be with someone else. It cannot be in a vacuum. Our desires and selfish motives cause us to act in a way that benefits ourselves and hurts others. And that's why the love of God is perfected in us as how we address not only ourselves but others and the world around us. 1 John 4:7 says, Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. So if you have the capacity to love, that's a gift from God. It's God in you. Now you have to love one another, and that is give love. Now I have to say, it's a lot easier to love an invisible God than it is people around me. And the Lord speaks to this just a few chapters down. John talks about it in 1 John 4:20. If anyone says, I love God, invisible, but hates a fellow believer, visible, that person, this is very strong language, is a liar. For if we don't love people we can see, how can we love God whom we cannot see? And that on Valentine's Day, that just strikes my heart, because I know that my love needs to grow. I need transformational love. There are habits, traditions, and disciplines that are everything in relationships. And so I need God's love pouring through me to everyone that I come in contact with me. Habits. What is a habit? A habit is an acquired behavior pattern regularly followed until it becomes almost involuntary. We're told that a habit has to form over about 60 days to become involuntary. What about the habit of giving love? Could there be such a thing? I believe there could be. The habits of giving love, the first one would be very obvious. Love has to be given. Thank you. I couldn't hear you over there on the couch. Love has to be given. It cannot be withheld. When I give love, I am actually showing the world the very nature of who God is. I love what Bob Goff said. He said, we are the means, the method, and the object, the delivery vehicles for God's love to others. In other words, if I don't deliver it, they will never know God. The only God a lot of people will see is me. How am I doing as His representative? Well, LifeFamily joined with a lot of churches in the area to underwrite financially a survey that was taken for Greater Austin. And it lists a number of things, and there were some great surprises for all of us pastors, but one of them for sure wasn't as surprising, but it was disappointing. How would you describe the Christian church in Greater Austin. And those attributes were sad. They said things like condemning, self-righteous, intolerant, angry, and other things I won't say here. But it made me sad because I not only reflected on them who I was, but it reflected poorly on who God is. And so I set out to say, how can we do better? How can this community love the God that we serve? A lot of us don't reflect love well because we didn't receive love. I want you to be the love you never received because God loved you. Let us give love to others. How are you representing God to the community around you? The second habit is love is not given in kind. When I was a younger husband, I had an unmet expectation for Denise. And because Denise did not meet that expectation, I would oftentimes be angry, withdrawn, immature, silent. I would answer what I perceived to be disrespect in an unkind way. I was giving in kind, so incredibly immature. When I was a younger father and I had a teenager for the first time, I discovered she doesn't want to talk to me. Well, guess what? Two can play this game. I won't talk to her. Now, we're talking about a teenager with an unformed brain and me trying to be that kind of, you don't love in kind. You love above. And when I was a young manager and I had people answering to me, I was immature. If I felt like there was someone that was showing disrespectful behavior toward me, wasn't rowing the same direction, wasn't doing the things that I thought were so important, I would isolate them. I would passively punish them. And all of that is so immature, so immature. What I should have been doing as someone who reflects the love of God and gives love is asking one simple question, whether I was a young husband, a young father, or a young manager, and it's this: I wonder what's causing that person to show that kind of behavior. What's going on in their life that caused them to say or do that? If I'd simply taken the time to ask that question, I wouldn't give love in kind. 1 Peter 3:9 says, don't repay evil for evil. That's in kind love. It's not good. Don't retaliate with insults when people insult you. What do? Instead, pay them back with a blessing. That is what God has called you to do, and He will grant you His blessing. It reflects the nature of Jesus Christ when He was afflicted, when He was falsely accused. He never called angels down on His behalf. He never asked the earth to open and swallow them. He did not give love in kind, and neither should we. It's Black History Month. Black History Month is American history. That history is part of my history. And when I see the evolution of what our forefathers did to people, owning people, breaks my heart. And then the suffering that's happened throughout the generations. I marvel at the great leader Martin Luther King, who urged his followers as the civil rights leader not to give in-kind treatment to those who so wickedly punished them. He said, I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. That's the habit I want to ask you if you will carry with me to give love. Not give love in kind, but give God kind of love. Let's start that today. The third thing, the third habit to give love. Love removes the pride blockage. Pride has a blockage. Has your mother ever asked you an embarrassing question in front of other people? Oh man, my mother did. She would just walk up to me, and I could be standing there with friends, and she would say, "Son, have you moved today?" Have I moved? A lot of you know what I'm talking about. You might have to explain it to some others in the room. She was so concerned about me being healthy that she would just, like, "Mom, I got friends here." And she didn't care. And to this day, we can be in a restaurant, and my kids, her grandchildren, she'll ask them the same thing, and they just get so embarrassed. But here's what my mom knows, because she struggled with this. If your body doesn't have a movement to it, what your intake doesn't leave your body, you will become toxic and sick. Pride is toxic. Pride makes you sick. And the only thing to move pride out of your body is give love. Love. Ephesians 4:26, the Apostle Paul says, don't sin by letting anger control you. Don't let the sun go, that'd be a good song. Don't let the sun go down while you are still angry. It is not a sin to be angry. Anger is a healthy emotion. The sin is not anger. The sin is letting anger control you because it makes you sick. Anger toward friends, anger toward spouse, anger toward a boss, anger at your place in life, even anger at God. Here's the habit that you should form. Don't let the sun go down while you are still angry. If you go to bed with that angry seething in you, it will allow a foothold for the enemy. It will open a window or a gate that Satan will come in and poison the well. Anger corrodes the container that holds it. Don't let the sun go down while you're still angry. It doesn't mean you have to resolve it, because some of these things we're dealing with need a lot of time to resolve. It has nothing to do with resolution, but it has a lot to do with creating movement. Love flushes. Thank you. Love flushes the emotional part of who you are. Don't let anger and pride cause you to become toxic. Every healthy relationship, every healthy marriage, every healthy workplace, every healthy friendship has anger. It's not that you don't become angry. It's that you have a way to process it quickly. Ask God to do a work in your heart where you can hear complaint without retaliation. Give permission to those who work around you, those you're friends with, those that you date, those that you're married to. Give them permission to say to you, if you see anything in me that is bothersome, would you tell me? And then you have to have a heart full of love to say, and God help me to receive that. Jimmy Evans, pastor, said, conflict is inevitable. Combat is optional. And I'm praying peace right now into your relationships, even now as you are watching. Early in our marriage, my beautiful Valentine, Denise, 36-year marriage. Early in the marriage, we didn't have a lot of funds. I scraped together just enough to buy Denise a mood ring. And she wore it, and when she was in a good mood, it turned green. And when she was in a bad mood, it left a red mark right there. Ah, that's funny. I don't know if you're laughing back there. Would you chat and say that was funny? I just like to know you're laughing. There's a difference in criticizing and complaint. I learned this too as I became healthy in relationships. A difference between criticism is pointing a finger, and it's making an accusation. You never, you always. That's tough because the person's not going to receive that. Complaining, though, is voicing a concern. Look, this is how you made me feel. When you said that, this is how I felt. I felt, okay, I'm not going to argue with your feelings. I understand. And this is a way to remove pride from all of the places of your life that need to have health. Love removes the pride blockage. Lastly, love the lost, embrace the saved. 1 Corinthians 15:33. Do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits. Your friends are your future. Whom have you decided intentionally to hang around? They are impacting you either to the good or to the bad. We imitate whom we admire. If you're raising kids with good morals and those kids get around other kids who don't have good morals, I have seen it sadly too often where it corrupts them. When I pray for your children and for you, I pray always that God gives your children good, godly friends who have character. Whom we associate with impact us. Hebrews 10:24 through 25 says, let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, bad habit. But here's a better habit, encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. The day is capitalized, it's talking about the day of judgment, which I believe is not too far from us right now. The assembling of yourself, without a doubt in my mind, we are in the most evil times the world has ever known. I believe that with all of my heart. And that's why it is imperative that you and I associate with people who are loving God and loving others.
If you don't have a home church, we want to invite you to be part of Life Family. Remember, you belong here. We're so excited that you've joined us today. Join us again next Sunday or anytime throughout the week. You can subscribe to our channel and hit that bell for notifications so you never miss a service. We're so excited you joined us today.